Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Brother Kelly Hughes, Chaplain of the Arts. We are broadcasting from the Valiant Theatre here in the heart of Winnipeg's greasy Tenderloin, just around the corner from Old Market Square, where all the stuff is happening right now. Or if you're watching this in the future, it's already happened. So hopefully you're watching it now so you can get in on the action. This is Kelly Hughes Live Shorts Fringe 2025. Thank you if you're joining us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or UMFM 101.5, or our YouTube channel. Very excited to have you here, and I am very excited. No, it's not just half a pack of certs in my pocket. I am very excited to have Eleanor O'Brien here. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. I love my new shirt. Check this out. We are so on the same wavelength. That is what I am doing here in Winnipeg. I'm here to save the world.
She is here to save the world, and just for Eleanor, I'm wearing my Beaver Lumber shirt.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, Canada's horniest hardware store that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
No, and I've been doing these interviews with like 2 or 3 people, but I was like, oh, Eleanor, nobody else said they were coming but Eleanor, so it's just going to be me and Eleanor, and we're going to sit here, and it's excited. I mean, we've got the roadie over here, but what do you do? Eleanor always comes with an entourage, so you don't just get her. It's a poly
a crew.
Yeah,
that is actually not true, Kelly. I have never toured with a partner before. This is a first, and it's glorious.
Okay,
I love it so much. I have been a solo artist. Now, I did come with Inviting Desire in 2009, and that was a crew. There was 4 of us touring a show about women's sexual fantasies, you may recall.
Yeah.
But when I toured Lust and Marriage, my show about polyamory, it was just me.
Well, now, so when was the last time you were here?
2015. 10 years ago.
10 years. It's I keep saying, like, time is a flat circle. Like, it's just so, it's, the pandemic was just this weird kind of thing in the middle. And, there are lots of people that I've seen that haven't been here since before that.
I know, Penny, 8 years.
For various reasons. Right? And even, who was here in 2015, who I was thinking about yesterday, who's dropped off my radar anyway, and I don't know where she is Tanya Joan Miller.
Tanya Joan Miller is alive and well, and actually contributed a significant, she wishes to remain anonymous, so I'll take that back.
She hasn't contributed anything, but she's alive and well.
She's alive and well, and yes, she definitely is cheering me on from the sidelines.
Okay,
on this tour.
But she's not on social media, right?
She's off. Okay, she came off, and and she's
Well, if you do happen to talk to her, just tell her that I was thinking about her and I miss her.
I will.
Because it's one of the nice things about, of course, technology and social media and all that stuff has its problems. But one of the nice things is, I haven't seen you in 10 years, but you feel like you know what somebody's doing, right?
You stay connected.
Yeah. And it's like, I appreciate that part of it, especially with all my far-flung friends and whatever.
This is the first Fringe that, well, actually in Cincinnati. So we started in Portland, Oregon, and we did Cincinnati the first weekend.
Yeah.
And then we went up to Montreal and Toronto, and now we're on our way back. But in Cincinnati, Martin was there, and John Bennett was there, and Ingrid, and so it felt like a little reunion. But then Montreal and Toronto didn't so much feel like that. There wasn't a gem was in Montreal, so. But this is the first Fringe where it feels like, oh, there's some of the old gang back together.
Is Ingrid here this year? Or is she busy doing all her puppet stuff?
Oh, different Ingrid. She's not. Yeah, I haven't seen her. She's puppet famous now.
Yeah.
Although, you know what?
Puppet famous.
Nate and I took a class from a guy in Victoria last year, a puppeteering class that I learned about from her.
Yeah.
And she was part of it. So we got to reconnect about a year ago over making puppets. Which so
oh, that's fun. Actually, Nate, do you have a card? Do you have a show card?
Yeah, here you go.
Do you want to? Okay. Oh, you got one right there. Okay, never mind, Nate.
I do.
So Eleanor is here doing Plan V, which is happening over at Venue 10, which is the Asper Center, beautiful air-conditioned
theater.
Real theater.
Gorgeous, yeah. The seats so comfortable,
air-conditioned. What is
Plan V?
Was it opening? Did it open last night?
It did.
How'd it go?
Well, it was intimate. So Nate and I, six fringes. So we really focused on Montreal and Toronto
Mm-hmm.
on building audience.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't so much focus on Winnipeg. I was like, well, Winnipeg's more like an in-person town where, you're flyering the lines.
Yeah.
There's no line flyering in Montreal or Toronto, right?
How come? Just it's.
It just didn't seem to be a thing.
Oh.
Like I did it a few times, but
Yeah.
people were kind of like,
Oh. Oh.
Whereas in Winnipeg, they're like, tell us about your show. Um, so so I hadn't done a lot of pre loading for an audience.
Yeah.
So I had a small crowd, but it was a really good warm up. I
Yeah.
love my tech. And I actually had an epiphany last night because what I've been struggling with this show is marketing. It seems like people don't know what to expect. So we actually created a new poster and postcard that's like less edgy, because I had the original postcard or poster image was me naked covered with a V, and it's it says Plan V, and it's kind of like Mary iconography because the show is about the rising of the divine feminine, right? And Penny told me, she's like, I don't think that was gonna fly in Winnipeg, and I was like, fuck you, Penny, I'm an artist and I will not be suppressed, right?
Yeah.
But we've gotten that feedback as we've toured. It's like people are like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be like as gentle, because it's the thing is it's a sexy show, but it's also like it really endeavors to include everyone and bring them along on this journey of like, what would it be like to live in a world where people didn't feel shame about sexuality and could talk about pleasure and could ask questions, right? And that's what the Plan V gathering is. And I play all the characters, right? So one of the characters is Mama V, who's like this Southern Baptist preacher, but instead of preaching for, fire and brimstone, she is preaching the gospel of pleasure and tapping into your intuitive knowing and trusting your instincts and the goddess in all of us, the X chromosome in all of us. Do you know we all have an X chromosome? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people don't. And it's like we can all tap into that part of ourselves that wants to nurture and grow and connect and love and co-regulate, right? So that's what Plan V is all about.
Yeah. I had an interesting discussion yesterday with Will Wilhelm, who's doing gender play.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's on my list.
And we were talking about how so my partner Andy came out as trans non-binary a couple of years ago, and so I was telling Will, I said, for me, I'm like middle-aged, clueless, white cis dude. Like it was hard initially for me to wrap my head around that, but when Will was talking about the one of the things in their play is talking about the sort of gender performativity in Shakespeare, uh, and that was kind of one of the things uh, that helped me a couple of years ago kind of wrap my noodle around it, was that gender is pretty performative.
I play 12 characters in this show of all different genders. And what a pleasure to get the privilege of getting to try on, and I want that for everyone. I think the thing about the transgender movement is so interesting is it's like I am stepping into a different role for myself, conceptualizing myself in a different way, and I get to, and I love that. I love that people are like claiming that for themselves. I get to.
So, I mean, so your thing is not all about sex, but people kind of sometimes think it's all about sex, and that was part of the problem with just the big, naked Eleanor. So, why do you think that is? I mean, why do you think people get kind of hung up on that? I mean, even because when you're talking about polyamory or ethical non-monogamy, which is also stuff you've talked about a lot. My partner Andy and I are, and we've been for 10 or 12 years. But often, when you talk to people about it, they think it's just all about, everybody's fucking around. Is that a song? No, everybody's humping around. That's
right.
That's
Sex
what they
parties
think.
Every weekend.
So why do people get hung up on that part of it, do you think?
Well, I think that the shame runs deep in our culture, and the misogyny runs deep. We live in a culture that was designed for men. everything about it was designed for men. Our government, our education, our schools, and and so what I am trying to do is create a vision of a world where, what if we weren't in competition, but we were connecting and helping one another, and not trying to figure out who's better than who and judging one another. One of the tenets of Plan V to me is about none greater than, none less. Together we are blessed, right? Like, what if? And I think that people get really hung up on being better than somebody, or like othering, like that my way is the better way, or and making fun of people.
Well, I mean, if you look at who the president is in the U.S. right now, I mean, that's a big part of how he got to where he is, was just by saying, I'm better than everybody else, and making fun of a bunch of people. And all kinds of people voted for that.
I know.
Just for that. Like, that's not a bug.
Right.
That's not a bug. That's a feature. They're like, oh yeah, I
So
like that.
my job.
He says what everybody else is thinking.
Kelly.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm here to proselytize.
Yeah.
Like,
do
I'm
it.
Here.
Preach it. Sister.
I am.
Yeah.
I am here because my role as an artist is to make the revolution irresistible. I am here to create a different vision than what that man represents, but a vision of unity between America and Canada, and cis and queer and trans, and like, let's stop making each other wrong or different, and be like, how can we work together to overcome this evil, to overcome the suppression, the misogyny, the patriarchy? That's really what we're all needing to work on together, is overcoming the patriarchy and creating a different world. This show is the world I want to live into. So that's why I wrote it.
Have you changed any minds?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
It's funny. Last night, this man saw the show, and when I saw him afterwards, and I said, he was an older gentleman, sitting on the edge, and I said, "Thanks so much for coming." And he said, "Well, I had to. I was the usher." But then we got into a conversation about it, and I feel like I planted some seeds in him.
You're going to change the world one usher at a time.
I'm going to make no money. No, what's really lovely, actually? So, yes, my houses have been small, and financially that's disappointing. Yeah. But I have a pretty healthy Patreon that supports my work, that allows me to come and do these kind of things where I'm touring and I'm definitely underwater in terms of, ticket sales and how much I put into it. But it isn't terrifying because I have this support network of people who give $1 or $5 a month,
And I think that people understand, the project that we're doing here. We're sitting in an old church right now around the corner from Old Market Square. That's going to be the Valiant Theater. We're in the middle of our development permit, but
the Valiant Theater,
the big V. And she's got the shirt there, "Art will save us all." And I feel like people want something to believe in. I feel like people want to know that things are going to get better. And I don't think the status quo offers, whichever side of the status quo, I don't think it offers any kind of anything for anybody. I mean, even just, not to beat the dead political horse, but even in the States, like with the current, I don't know if I've said his name. I think I won't say his name. The current American administration. I mean, the opposition party has been floundering, and so it seems, but they're part of the status quo, right? And that's the thing is,
it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I feel like people don't, really don't know what to do, and it's like we've lost our ability to resist. And then we saw, January 6th. Oh, we don't want to be that, right? We don't want to be an ugly mob. But then what are examples from history of different ways of resisting and changing the tide of history? That's I think where we are as America right now, is like in this new age with all this new technology, AI, surveillance. What does resistance look like? What is effective resistance? And I don't know that we know that yet. I call my senators, I write postcards, I phone bank, I march.
But you're resisting right now. I mean,
exactly.
You're
and my personal resistance is create the pathway to bring people along. Here's a different way. Do you know what I think? Can I touch you?
Tell me, touch me
Okay.
all over and tell me what you think.
Okay. So like one of the things that I talk about in the show is co-regulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things Nate and I work on a lot is
Mm-hmm.
like when our nervous systems get jacked up, how do we help each other come back into our bodies and
Mm-hmm.
settle down? And and so for me, being able to touch another
Mm-hmm.
person and offer like my oxytocin,
Mm-hmm.
my calm and and help regulate our systems together.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that's what human beings are meant to do. But now we're living in a culture where we almost never do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I do with my audience is like, let's just practice. I invite people to take hands just for a moment to like connect as a community, connect, as an audience.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone, but that's the thing is like I'm finding the people who want that.
Yeah.
And who are like, I'll go to the theater and do that. Thank you.
It is really interesting because so during the pandemic, when you weren't touching anybody, I used to go as soon as they opened again. I was going to my massage therapist, and basically that was the only time I was getting touched all week, and it was not like sexual, like it wasn't it was just, but it was that kind of connection, which I mean in some cases I was happy that people were standing 7 feet away from me in the grocery store, because I don't really like the people that are hovering, that the weird strangers, but that was a thing that we all experienced at the same time. And then that the whole the Me Too thing, which is totally legitimate, and is
a blessing, because we got to learn. Oh, look at all these stories that have not been spoken of. They were brought to light,
and that is a part of what you're talking about with the patriarchy, and with the things being set up for men, and men doing whatever they want.
And this show, may I speak to the Me Too movement, is about how do we heal that? So now we exposed it, right? It's very similar to racism. It's like the misogyny that has been festering underneath got exposed. And so for me, I wanted to create a show that both addressed that and also talked about what are the pathways out. And one of the pathways out is reverence, is honoring the feminine and the pussy and sexuality and choice and sovereignty. What would that look like? Because to me, that's the medicine. If I have been a person who's been abused or taken advantage of, assaulted, whatever, how do I heal? And this show is the answer.
I love that, and I feel like one of the I don't maybe shortcomings, or one of the things that that I've seen about the Me Too movement, and anything like that, is we haven't really had a great mechanism for rehabilitating people. So people either go away, which mostly they don't, or they go away for a little bit and then they sneak back in and they're just back, like Louis C.K. Right. Louis C.K.'s he did a big show here, or he's doing it or whatever, and I'm just like I mean, he didn't do anything to address any of that stuff. He didn't. He just kind of went away, and then he came back, and sometimes people do the fake stuff. My favorite is if people are like politicians, if they're like racist, or if they're anti-Semitic, if they do something like that, and then they come out and they're like, I've been meeting with black faith leaders, and they do all the on the nose stuff. I mean, we even had a thing here locally. Oh shit. Okay, it doesn't matter. We're over our 20 minutes, but I'll put a note in the thing. We're having such a good time. Never mind. You don't need to worry about what's going on here. But we had a situation here where one of our provincial cabinet minister for accessibility was doing a speech in front of a graduation class, and there was an ASL interpreter, and then after. She was caught on a hot mic complaining about how this interpreter was in her way, waving her hands, because they didn't have it set up right or whatever. And so her apologies were terrible, because in the first thing she did was go on the fucking radio which is not what you do when you're
Accessible to deaf
apologizing to
people.
the deaf community. I
Oh
mean, how dumb is
no.
that?
Oh, talk about tone deaf.
Yeah, and then she
Oh.
did, and then she did a little thing.
Mm.
Then she did a little thing later, like it was like a week or two later. Like she just didn't. The timing was not, it was tone deaf. But she did a thing later, where she said, really, really sorry, and
Mm.
we're gonna go for retraining and blah 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 blah. What I really wanted her to do
Mm-hmm.
was I wanted her to say, you know what, uh, I was caught up in my own moment. I was high on the smell of my own farts. I was, thinking about all the people up there, looking at me up there, and I was concerned about how I looked because that's what it was about, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was about she was concerned about how because she's very image conscious. I just wanted her to like
Mm-hmm.
admit that
Have that
part of it
moment.
because that to me seemed like
Mm-hmm.
the honest thing was
Right.
the thing that she was most concerned about was what she looked like.
Wouldn't
And
that be something to have that kind of
yeah,
authenticity?
so I really feel like I've had a situation where I'm going to try to think about how to say this without really getting into specifics, but it's a man who um, has done something that he shouldn't have, and he's a person that I sometimes pay to do things, and I talked to my partner Andy about that, and I said like, do I cancel this guy forever or like what? But what we've kind of came to was I've told him, I said, uh, I'm gonna, I'm gonna give this kind of, we'll see in 3 months, and I'm gonna check back in with this person that you harmed, and we're gonna see, kind of where things are at, um, and kind of give him a little time to cook, and kind of have a consequence.
Do
Um,
one of the things that I have found in situations in my life is like, is there any resource that you have that you could share with him that actually would help him to see his own behavior or understand himself better? Like once I got into it with somebody and I literally sent them a Brené Brown podcast about
yeah,
anger,
yeah,
and they really felt like it was helpful because it
mm,
wasn't me saying, you did this, you did this. It was
yeah,
like, here's a resource that maybe would
yeah,
help you see
yeah,
how this behavior affects
yeah.
people.
It's very challenging because this is a person who's uh, socioeconomically disadvantaged and kind of uh, marginalized. You know what I mean? This is not. He's not the kind of person that reads stuff or listens to
Mm-hmm.
podcasts or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And so
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha.
it's been a bit of a challenge. But I back to the
Mm.
original thing. I mean, I do really like this idea of saying like I mean, so many men have done, including me in my life, have done things that they shouldn't have. We gonna send them all to a fucking desert island? I mean, that's we have to live with everybody. So I mean, certainly,
Mm.
if somebody has hurt you, you're well within your right to send them off on the ice floe. I mean,
Right,
you don't
right.
need to
But
deal with them.
culturally,
But yeah,
how do we help? I think about this a lot.
yeah,
And as an artist, one of the things I've tried to do is create a sense of possibility or a potential story. So, for example, do you know Dan Savage has
yeah,
a Hump Fest every year, right?
mm-hmm,
Amateur porn. And I applied one year with a film that I made. It didn't get in, but I think it's a beautiful film. I'll send
mm-hmm,
it to you. It's called Come for Your Guns.
mm-hmm,
And the idea of it was that it was about a woman who trades sex for guns and then destroys the guns, and it
mm-hmm,
becomes a movement. And this is
mm-hmm.
because I was like, how does America
Yeah,
get rid of all of its guns?
yeah,
What if you tied it to connection, pleasure,
mm-hmm,
orgasm, and they, in this, I mean, it's a 5 minute film, right? That's
mm-hmm.
the time limit, so I had a lot to do in this
Yeah,
5 minutes.
yeah,
But partly what I tried to show is her teaching him how to make love,
mm-hmm,
because so many people do not learn those skills,
yeah,
and nobody knows how to teach. I mean, not nobody knows how to teach them. There are people who know how,
yeah,
but we are cutting them off at their knees. I was banned from YouTube this month. I was banned from YouTube because of a nipple ding at the end of my show that I didn't censor because it was unlisted, and I
yeah,
just sent it to my patrons. So I didn't
yeah,
think to do that. taken down,
Yeah.
banned for life. And
Oh,
this
banned
is
for life.
banned for life. I can't create another YouTube channel.
Is that your first? Is that your first infraction? Like,
No, so
and I'm not
no,
saying.
I
I'm
was
just curious
taken
how that.
down a year ago
Yeah.
for that. No, it wasn't my first infraction. I also, do you remember in Inviting Desire, the water thing?
Yeah.
That was on YouTube for years.
Yeah.
And it was marked adult, mature,
Yeah.
what have you. It had like 300,000 views.
Yeah.
But it had see through and you could see nipple.
Yeah.
And but at the time that I put it up, that wasn't the rule, but it became the rule.
Okay.
And then that became an infraction.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my strikes, you
Yeah.
know, like, so that kind of thing has happened to me where retroactively I have broken the rules. So the ability to teach about sexuality is getting harder and harder. And one of the reasons I do the shows that I do is to help educate and to give people something to talk about and see a potentiality they may not have known about. Like in this show, which I can't wait for you to see, there's a scene where this man goes down on me and he does everything right. It's beautiful, right? He says the right things. He asks, he washes his hands, you know, because I wanted to give an example of what would it be like to have a man go down on you and have it be amazing, you know. Speaking of that, I have to go and do it at a guest. I'm doing a guest spot at Bodice Rippers.
Nice.
And her show is at 1, so I have to be there at 12:30.
Okay. Well, we don't know what time it is because that's not the real time.
Okay.
Nate can tell us what time is it, Nate? 11:37.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So one of the things that you're using to create your foment your revolution is sex, sexuality, and you're talking about porn, amateur porn, and the stuff that you've done. But tell me about this proliferation of porn. That's this commercial porn, which is not counterculture. It's just part of the machine.
Yeah.
Right. Like how do you think?
What do you want me to tell you?
Well, I just want to know. I mean, you're saying that people don't know how to do sex. Tell me how you think this sort of commercial, like joyless porn, has changed.
Okay, here's what I think. I think we have a lizard brain, right?
Yeah.
We have, we also have a prefrontal cortex and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But I think our lizard brains get tracks laid down early about our sexuality and what gets us off, right?
Yeah.
And then porn feeds that. And it is very much like you drive down any street in Winnipeg and you are going to see what? A&W, Tim Hortons, McDonald's. It's the same thing, right? Humans are like easy food, frictionless food, calories in, tastes good. And it's the same thing with porn. It's like it caters to your lizard brain, right? I just want to watch the part where I know I like and then I can get off, right? And it's true across genders, right? I love erotica, but most of the time I go to the thing that's going to get me off quickest when I want to get off, right? And that's not really sex. I think that, I guess it's a form of sex, but I think that human beings actually evolved so that, when we touch and we slow down, that our bodies create chemicals, right? Like oxytocin and serotonin, and that these are what heals the cortisol and the adrenaline that we're all running on most of the time. And I think that the more people are actually actively involved in touch, in eye gazing, in communication, in just like they've done studies where people are in MRIs, right? And what is the most calming thing to have in an MRI? Somebody holding your hand, right? It brings your anxiety levels down by like 50%. And so to me, sex is like an extension of that, or it can be, and there's of course like Tantra, right? But I think we need something in the West that isn't, maybe borrows from Tantra. And yes, lots of people are into kink because I think it's it's high impact emotion, right? Like, it's like almost like a jarring of your nervous system that you can control to some degree. It's like, jumping out of an airplane or whatever. But I think we need something to counterbalance and to create that feeling of calm and connection I call it calm arousal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you're actually, yeah, you're turned on, your dendrites are firing, you know, but you're not anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an optimal state.
This is interesting because one of the things that I've been reading about, and when I say reading, I just mean listening to podcasts, is ADHD, which is autism and ADHD
Mm,
kind of colliding.
mm-hmm,
And there's a very interesting kind of growing body of work about that. There's somebody that wrote a book called Neuroqueer, which is, and that whole
mm,
concept is very interesting. That whole kind of uh, the intersectionality between neurodiversity and queerness,
mm-hmm,
and how that all kind of works together, and that's very interesting to me. But
mm-hmm.
one of the things I have self-diagnosed as ADHD recently, because I don't have $4,500 for an actual diagnosis. But one of the things about that is there's a lot of uh, body stuff. There's a lot of, like, with autism, and this is not really something I've been learning about because I wasn't really paying attention to any of it before. But something with autism is a lot of autistic people, a lot of people on the spectrum have sensory
Mm-hmm,
stuff.
mm-hmm,
So the they don't like the lights, or the
mm-hmm.
certain
Right, and they
noises or
stim. Mm-hmm,
smells, or, like, yeah,
mm-hmm,
all the things.
mm-hmm.
And then another part of that is one of the things that is talked about is, like, when you're just kind of overstimulated, whatever it is, like, your body just kind of shuts down. And to me, that's interesting because I was raised in, like, a hardcore evangelical charismatic kind of family where the uh, your body was wrong. Your body was always wrong, right? You needed to subjugate your body. You needed to, all that kind of stuff. And I uh, didn't realize that that was really bad.
Right, it's like the opposite is true.
Yeah. And so I have not been good. I'm 55, and I have not been good about listening to my body. Like, I don't necessarily eat when I'm hungry. I
Right,
don't necessarily sleep when I'm tired.
right.
Um, and all these things are, not helping what's going on up here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to me because I guess I feel a little embarrassed to say this, but when you held my hand, like, it did feel kind of warm and calming. It did feel like, oh, okay. So
Why would that be embarrassing to admit?
I don't know. I don't know. Just because it's I need to be slick. I'm talking to the camera. I'm doing the
I know,
whole,
right? You gotta be cool.
you know.
Well, okay. Can I just tell you about this coffee shop experiment? So they filmed people having a cup of coffee at a coffee shop all over the world for an
Mhm.
hour, right? And in Colombia, people touch an average of 186 times in an hour. And in France, and in
Yeah,
but then they come to the U.S., to
yeah,
Canada, to Britain, and they touch twice. Maybe
yeah.
when you say hello and when you say goodbye.
I see something fairly often, which is women of color who are from somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
holding hands, just
Mm.
friends,
Mm-hmm.
walking down the street.
Do you
And
know
I've seen
I
that,
that
like,
they used to hold men used to hold hands in the Middle East?
really.
Yeah, I went to Egypt,
Yeah,
Jordan, Syria when I was in my 20s,
yeah,
and you would see men holding hands all the time, not gay.
yeah,
Isn't that wild?
yeah. It
They were.
is.
It was just part of being with
Yeah,
another person.
yeah,
And now it seems like, oh, queer.
yeah. It does seem like uh, something else that I've kind of been learning about and thinking about is uh, during the pandemic. There were a lot of people that kind of now, so we're 5 years out or whatever. There were a lot of people that kind of uh, uh, came of age during the pandemic, or they were in high school during the pandemic, and there was a study that suggested or said that the more isolated people were, the more the higher the greater the chance was that it pushed them into conservatism, conservatism,
Well,
which
that
was
makes sense.
interesting to
Right.
me. And so this kind of
Yeah.
this thing that we have in North America and in sort of, kind of this, I don't know, kind of this Northern European kind of, stoic individualism, this kind of ideal is it's sad.
It's sad. And the thing is
And
that when you're not around other people, you do get limited in your thinking. We see that all over in rural versus cities, right?
yeah,
Our cities are what's progressive because people have contact with people who are not like them.
yeah.
So again, to bring it back to my show, Kelly, and then I have to go.
The show is Plan V. It's
show,
happening at
right, and it's about bringing people together.
Yeah.
It is about bringing people together so that we
Tomorrow,
create
1 p.m.
community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you coming?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you coming?
Okay. I'm coming. I'm coming.
So many jokes. Thank you. May we?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Does this mean you're leaving, or are we just hugging?
I'm leaving.
Okay.
I have to go do a show. Ding.
Well, thank you so much. The show is Plan V. It is happening over at Venue 10, Asper Center. Very lovely theater by U of W. Next show is tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
1:15.
It's one says 1 o'clock.
Oh fuck.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, better be on time. You're gonna be 15 minutes late.
Right.
And you can't see the back, but the back says it gets 5 stars from everybody.
5 stars.
Okay.
Double ding.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Eleanor. We could have sat here and talked for 2 hours. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in. There's lots more to come. Art will save us all.